I'm Lynn.
I'm Amanda.
And this is the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. We're cutting through the fluff and cracking open what it really takes to build a business and life that you actually want.
No gurus, no gatekeeping, just real talk, big action, and the badass energy you need to scale and slay.
Some episodes, it's just us.
And sometimes we bring on powerful guests with stories that'll hit home.
Either way, this is not about playing small.
It's about going all in.
Let's get after it. Hey there, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome to the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. We love a good system. We love a plan. And today we're talking about the REFRAME Framework, which is a way to reset your business without burning it down to the ground.
Yeah, if you listen to our podcast, we just did Reset Framework, which we use, and Reframe couples with it. So Reframe is more about like getting clarity and kind of just like fleshing it out, where the reset is the action, the tactical type. So these kind of couple together. So if you haven't listened to the Reset Framework podcast, we strongly suggest for you to listen to it after. You don't have to listen to it before, like it'll make sense using these together. But we love a good system, good like framework, if you would, because it helps people remember, right? You're able to recall it differently because it's something that's easily associated with something. The memory, it holds it easier. I don't know, you probably know the psychological side of
the
that.
Psychological reason. We believe it. We remember patterns. We remember funny things to say, funny ways to say things. It's not, the more technical, depending on your behavioral style, but depending on how you learn, a lot of that more technical stuff just goes in one ear and out the other. And so this is a way to remember it and hopefully use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So the R is probably my favorite thing, even outside of the Reframe Framework, is reality check. And what we mean by reality check is to just be honest with yourself. I always say the only person you're lying to is yourself. But where are you truly? If you strip away all of the bullshit, if you strip away all of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, the have to do's, the should do's, the what others think about you, what you fantasize about, exactly what you're doing. And we'll give you examples in a second, but when you strip away all of that, like what is the truth? No justification, no excuses, no stories, just facts. Like, where are you at now?
I feel like entrepreneurs are masters of storytelling to themselves. A lot of it's because you have all this drive, you have all this ambition, you have a lot of things that are going on, a lot of plates that are spinning. And when it comes down to these reality checks, and I know we mentioned it in our reset as well, but there's a lot of things that you have to kind of look at from an analytical standpoint. So strip away the emotion and look at your revenue, look at your cash flow, look at your capacity, look at your time and energy. And it's going to tell a very different story than what you might tell people when they ask how you're doing. I use that as a litmus test for a lot of people. When somebody asks you randomly, like, how's your business doing? And you automatically on autopilot will say, oh, it's great. Or, we're doing so well, or blah, blah, blah. But then in your gut or in your heart, oh, it's doing great, except for this, and this. I'm doing okay, except I haven't slept in a week. There's all these things that we may not say aloud, but this is the time, this R is the time to say it aloud. Like the time to write it down, say it aloud. You don't have to be proud of it, but you need to at least acknowledge that it is the truth.
That's the first step, is acknowledgement. I mean, really having a reality check of the true, like where you spend your time, where you're at, what you're doing, how much time things take on the implicit and explicit level as well. Like this is where you get raw and real with yourself. You don't have to share with anybody else, but truly, because like we both said, you start to build these stories which become your reality. And Amanda and I have talked about this a lot, the I'm so busy type of energy, we'll say. And even people who don't use the I'm busy, there still could be ways that it's manifesting in the way that they say, oh, I've been for the last week doing X. Well, really? Have you been doing X for the last week? Or have you been thinking about it and it's really, you've only spent 1 hour in your computer doing that thing, right? So Reality check is super important. We know that this is the hardest step, but it is super important for you to get really, really, really honest. Really honest. No pointing fingers, no justification, just facts.
And before we go on, I want to say, please try to separate your self-worth from your business performance. Those are not the same thing.
Yes.
And I know I say this because I really struggled with that for a very long time. And it was, if my business isn't doing great, then I suck as a person. And I think that was just like this feeling I always had. And you have to learn how to separate the two because they are not mutually exclusive.
No, agreed. Okay, so evaluate what isn't working and what is working, and not necessarily in that order. Sometimes it's easier for us to say, oh, this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working. And some of us, it's easier to start with this is working, but really evaluating the both sides, the decisions that you make, about how you make decisions, about the systems you have, about the habits that you have, about your commitments. And you hear us talk about this all the time, what's actually moving the needle. But this is the time to evaluate what's working and what's not working.
Yes, this is auditing your decisions, your systems, your habits, your commitments, your energy levels. Everything else gets cut. So a lot of times the evaluations that you have are going to be emotional. You're going to have a lot of emotional ties to it, whether you want to or not. And so you need to evaluate strategically what needs to go and what needs to stay. And a lot of times that's, we've always done it this way, or this is the way that it's done. No. And I say that, I'm thinking of one client in particular. We've always done it this way. This is the way my parents did it. This is, taking over this new business. This is the way they've always done it. But that is the path to stagnation. That's not a path that's going to get you anywhere. So, evaluate everything. Evaluate your offers. Evaluate the marketing channels that you're using, and are you using them? Look at your sales systems. Look at your personal habits. Look at the types of clients you have. Look at how you got those clients. Like, where are those clients coming from? All of that is contributing to underperformance in some way, or that feeling of underperformance, even if it's not really based in reality.
Okay. So F.
Focus on fewer things. So I think Lynn made me say this because I am the queen of doing all the things and focusing on everything. I caught myself doing it today. I'm like, I'm going to do this plan and I'm going to do this. And I have so many ideas on how. No. So choose your vital, important, real, urgent priorities. Nothing else really matters. Everything else, for the most part, is a distraction. And you can audit your time. You can think about it, looking at your calendar in a realistic way. But there are so many things that we do on a day-to-day that are mostly distraction from what really needs to be done, whether we intend to do that or not. There's just a lot of stuff that goes on now. It's not like the olden days where the electricity went out at 5 o'clock or there wasn't electricity and you had to light a candle and that's how you knew what your time was going to be like. It's not like that. There's a million things that are inundating you. So focus on the things that are really driving the needle. Focus on 1 to 3 business priorities per quarter that are going to push you further. Don't overload yourself in entrepreneurship.
Yes. When I think of this F, I think of a mentor of ours, Meissner, and he would always say, don't do 1,000 things 6% of the time, do 6 things 1,000 times, right? So when you hyper focus, or even just focus and narrow your focus, you have more energy, more clarity, because you're not spread so thin. Even for those of us that are great multitaskers and self-proclaimed, we can work underneath any stress. We work better under stress. Both men and I are that way. We talk about it all the time, but you don't need so many things on your plate because it does take away. And yes, I know it helps the monkey brain. I know it helps the chatter. That's a whole other thing. And that's something that I have been good about it, but it's not perfect working through that, because I used to get distracted all the time because of the monkey brain, but I really had to put in the effort to kind of stop doing that. So that way I could learn to focus on the few. It doesn't mean that when somebody looks at my personal what's going on, even Amanda's what's personal going on, that we might not have more than what others might not have. But for us, that is the few, right? Compared to what we might do. So focusing on the few is you're getting rid of the distractions, or understanding that that distraction's there and not allowing that distraction to control you, not allowing the monkey brain to take control, not allowing, everybody else to come before what you need to do. I think the focus on the few is also like putting yourself first, learning to prioritize and putting your priorities first, and having boundaries. Yeah, but each of these is kind of a learned discipline, if you would, but focus on the few is super important. And I know some behavioral styles and like ADD or ADHD, like this is going to be a harder one for all of you. And you can do it. Like the more you practice something and have clarity, and this is why we love the frameworks, it gives you the ability to work that muscle, if you would. So focusing on the few is important.
And it lets, when you really focus, it's easier to say no to other things without as much guilt and feeling like you feel responsible, like I have to do this, you feel obligated. When you're focused and you have those few things in mind, it makes it much easier to tune out those other distractions. And we've said it a million times, we'll say it again, that motion does not equal progress. Just because you're running in the hamster wheel doesn't mean you're going anywhere.
Facts. So R, redefine the outcome.
All right. This is clarifying what success actually looks like now to you, not based on outdated goals, not based on what you think your identity should be, not based on what your spouse or your friend or your uncle or your second cousin twice removed thinks that success is supposed to, what Instagram says success is going to be. A lot of times goals are created with this older version of you in mind and not with real data. And I think, we talk a lot about fitness, we give a lot of fitness examples, but one of the biggest ones is, I just want to fit into those jeans from before I had my baby or from high school. Like, you are not the person you were before your baby. I hope you're not the person you were in high school. So you're chasing these outdated outcomes, and that's going to lead to frustration and in some cases burnout. It's what's your current season? What's currently going on? It's that lifetime season reason kind of thing, but like, what's your current capacity? What are your current priorities? Because I'll tell you one thing, like my priorities and my capacity are way different post-child than they were before. The amount I could work in my early 20s versus in my mid 40s, very different, not just from an energy perspective, but just from my priorities. They're very different. So really think about updating your definition of success without shame, and just ruthlessly audit the stuff out that you don't need and that you don't really believe in anymore, because it's okay to be a different version of you. In fact, we encourage it.
Yeah. Yes. So this is not just where goals come into play, like redefining what that looks like, but also your vision. I think it's reconnecting to the vision and making sure that those goals are also in alignment with the vision. But sometimes we have to redefine because maybe it's an outgrowed, we outgrew this particular identity, or sometimes we set it based on somebody else. We just had this conversation with a client of ours about like a big marker, a big goal that he wants to hit in 2026, which is not quite double what he has done, but a good amount. I would say a third, a 30%, 40% increase, something like that. And we definitely see it. And we see actually more than a 60% increase. And what we told them is, in 3 to 6 months, we'll redefine it and see where you're at and kind of the patterns and habits you have. And then you might increase that, but you're not going to decrease it. And so when we're talking about redefining the outcome, we don't want you to just, because you're not hitting things, or because you're not being successful, that you drop your goals, what that outcome should be. It should be based on, because if you're honest with yourself, if you're evaluating what's working, you'll understand why you're not hitting that. You'll understand why those outcomes might not be what you need them to be. So don't base this on just a random, like, I'm not hitting it, or whatever that is. So it is really important that redefinition is in alignment with your vision, and you're still stretching yourself. But that's why the R is first. Like, making sure that you have that reality check and that you are truthful with yourself. Because if you don't, when you redefine the outcome, you're redefining an outcome that's not based on the fundamentals and foundations that you have, and you're not making the effort. And when you do the reset with the action and the kind of like that moving things, you're going to find yourself in the same hamster wheel, if that makes sense. So it's super important for you to redefine it with everything stripped away, being honest, and the effort that you're going to put in to make sure that that success continues to happen.
All right, let's talk about the next A, or align identity and action.
Yes. So this goes right into what I was just saying, what Amanda was just saying is, are you who you say you are? And are you taking the action? We often say, first of all, you have to walk the walk, talk the talk type of person, right? So are you being the person that you need to be in order to get that accomplished? So what version of you do you need to be to absolutely take on that next level? And there are things that you're going to have to shed, and there are things that you're going to have to put on. So this is definitely looking at your patterns and your habits and your ideologies, and really saying, who do I need to be in order to have that success, in order to have that outcome, in order to be that person that I want to be? And that's, again, we're taking a hard look at ourselves first. And so it really is letting go of the shit that no longer serves you.
Yes, this is about not dragging those old patterns forward with you. You can't be the person who is, let's say, 7, 8 figures. That's not the same person who was barely hitting 6 figures. Nope. You can't be the same person, because what got you here isn't going to get you there. So think about the identity gap that you have. Like maybe it's going from operator to CEO. Think about people pleasing versus just making the freaking decision. Hustling in the negative way, not in the, we like hustling, but not in the negative way, versus strategizing and actually thinking, like winging it versus strategizing. We want to think about upgrading your identity intentionally. And it's not about changing who you're not are. It's not saying like you're not good enough. That's not what we're saying here. It's just, there are gaps. I think one of the ChatGPT prompts that we used a long time ago on this is like, okay, imagine you have done everything has gone the way you want. You're making the amount of money you want to make, you're living in the house you want to live in. Like, what would your normal day-to-day activities be like? What would you be doing? And if you're not doing any of the things that you would be doing if you're at your highest peak, then maybe you need to reevaluate what you're doing. Like, if in your mind, once you hit 8 figures, you'll go to Pilates class 3 times a week. Well, you could go to Pilates class 3 times a week now and start that habit now, so that once you hit that higher 8-figure self, that you're already in that mode. You're already moving in that direction. So what behaviors are you holding on to that no longer belong to the future that you see for yourself? Like, what do you need to execute, and what do you need to get where you are? Because there's things that aren't serving you. And, sometimes they're easy and superficial, and sometimes it's a big old like kick in the face and the butt. And you just feel like the worst when you realize what it is. So we want to remove the friction. So like, where can you align yourself with who you want to be?
Well, and this is why the next one is super important. And I love this. And to me, it reminds me of a few different things, but M is move with intention. And you talked about intention and intentionality. And once you have that identity and kind of that action and your outcome, all of the things that came before this, it's almost like The Secret, the movie, the book, whatever. But when you have all of that and you've stripped away and you see who you need to be in order to have that, because we have to change and grow. It doesn't mean that it's changing the core of who we are. Sometimes it might, but it is, then we can move with intention. We can decide, act, and execute. It is moving with intention allows things to open up differently, and you feel it differently because you're not just going through the motions, and it's aligned with your identity, the action, etc. It's everything above. And so what happens is you have compounded manifestation through the actions in which you're doing, because you are moving with intention in the identity that you've created that is absolutely in alignment with the outcome, with the truth, with where you want to go, who you want to be, and you're not allowing the old to drag you down. So this moving with intention is absolutely, it brings ease when you do all of the things, more ease. I'm not saying that it's easy. We make things difficult, but there's an ease to it, and the efforts compound one another when you start to move with intention.
Absolutely. This is progress over perfection. Like you can't wait till you're ready, because that's where momentum dies. You're never going to be ready. It's never going to be perfect. You've got to just sort of trust. We already talked about trust the process already. Go back to that podcast episode. But really, a lot of this overthinking is just fear. It's fear that you're using, you're disguising as productivity, but it's really not productivity. It's just fear, and it's holding you back, and all this like overthinking and overanalyzing, overprocessing. Like you need to decide faster, not because you're reckless and not looking at the outcomes, but because you're confident, because you know where you want to go. And, that momentum helps build the confidence as you go. But if you're constantly overthinking and you're constantly nitpicking every little thing that you do, you're not going to be able to move with intention. We want you to move. It's not just intention. It's not just movement. It's both. It's moving with intention. So this letter is so important in the framework, because without movement, it's all just ideas that you've thrown out on a couple of sticky notes, and it's never going to happen. So you got to do the thing.
Got to do it. Okay. So E is embed the lesson. And we've talked about this in different ways throughout different podcasts and some of our teachings. But in the REFRAME framework, we love the embed the lesson, because essentially you're reprogramming yourself, right? And embed the lesson is making sure that you recognize, okay, what did you learn? What did you not learn? Essentially, so you can either rinse and repeat or not repeat, right? So it is taking a breath, looking at the lesson. This is another self-reflection type of, and if you're with a team, you can do it with your team. Like these two frameworks are great for teamwork as well. But okay, and what can we learn from this? And how does this stick with us? But you're making sure that you're recognizing, you're sitting down and acknowledging. Because a lot of times, listen, Amanda and I are guilty of this. We are doers. We will blow through and just do. And it's something that we've had to train ourselves over the years and hold each other accountable too. Because when we're in hyper growth mode, we have to sit back. And so it's definitely something that I actually remember picking up the habit when I started doing, especially like doing conferences, or when I was COO, when I was emceeing conferences, but also when I became COO after every training, after every whatever. And some of it started with validation, like I needed validation for myself but I'm definitely, what did we learn? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What's missing type of thing. And that's just, it helped me be better. It helped sink into my fibers of who I am. It helped me learn things differently. And so in the REFRAME framework, it's super important for you to do this. It is important for us to look at the lesson, let go of what didn't repeat, and etc. And it's so, so important.
We spoke about this at the summit, and we spoke about this on one of our podcasts, that the speed of implementation, you've got to implement, you've got to integrate. Otherwise, it's just noise and repetition, and you're going to be reliving the same problems year after year. So you have to put in the work to update systems, or to document decisions that you've made, or to set different non-negotiables, because this is building the feedback loops that are going to help you actually get to the next level, rather than 365 days later, you're in the exact same place, but maybe just with a different outfit on. So like, what needs to be unlearned? What needs to be permanent? What needs to, how could you reset the same damn problem and redo it? I mean, we don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. That is absolutely the definition of insanity. And we're insane enough as entrepreneurs. We don't need one more level of insanity.
Well, and when you were talking, actually, too, and we teach this we preach it and teach it all the time, this is where you can find out where you can systemize things and automate stuff, right? And like really make sure the busy work isn't staying in the process. So super important. I love the REFRAME framework. We are not one tool wonders in anything that Amanda and I do. It actually sometimes gives me a physical reaction when people can only see things one side, or like a one hit wonder. And that's not it. Like how can we use this kind of like the wheel of life, right? People only use it for one thing. I'm like, no, you can use it for a cajillion things. Same with this. So where you can use this framework, the REFRAME framework, could be lots of different things, but we would say is use it on a quarterly basis for your planning. Like we talked about how to break down your year into 12-week sprints. You can use this absolutely in each of them. When you have to have hard conversations, when you're making scaling decisions, after the process as well, cash flow issues. We talked about, using it in your team. This is like another, if you would, SWOT analysis type of tool, right? So this is great for team breakdowns. If you as a founder are really feeling like spread thin, or dare we say burnt out, but this is a framework that can absolutely help you like check yourself before you wreck yourself fully and get back on a stable, clear ground.
Absolutely. And we know it's still kind of the beginning of the year here. It doesn't have to be a new year thing. Okay. As Lynn said, any time of the year, you just need a new standard to go by. Instead of reacting, this is a way to lead on purpose with intention and with results. So that's what we want for all of you especially now coming into a new year, but always as well.
Opportunity. I mean, even if you're not, I had this conversation with my kid last night. Do not ever use the new year, new me. She's like, no, I didn't. I was just saying this is my year. Don't do that. That gives me hives. But opportunity is opportunity, right? So this is a marker that you can implement some new things into you and your business. So if you like this podcast, which why wouldn't you? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and share it with somebody who needs to hear this message today.
And we just want to throw one plug in. If you know that you need help, we are here to help you, whether that is answering your questions in the form of a podcast or jumping on one of our group coaching calls or jumping into the Badass Amplifier. We are here to support you in any way we can. So please reach out to us and connect because we want to help you and your business.
Absolutely. Till next time.
Get after it.
Thanks for tuning in. But remember, listening is not doing.
Take what you heard today and move.
Share the episode, leave us a review, and tag us when you take action.
Head over to the pursuitofbadasserie.com and see how we're helping entrepreneurs get results without the fluff.
Until next time,
let's get after it.